Good afternoon, dear viewers. This is Fine TV Gambia, your only viewpoint. And of course, it is your program titled, Let's Talk About It. And of course, today with Mr. Madi Jobarteh, a human rights activist, and of course, a staunch advocate for, democracy and good governance in this country and worldwide. So it's a pleasure, Mr. Jobarteh, to have you on our platform today. And then we look forward to a fruitful discussion.
Thank you. I'm happy to be on your platform for the first time. So I look forward to the conversation.
Interesting. So thank you, once again for honoring our invitation. So like I told you earlier on, this program, it is titled Let's Talk About It. So we talk on issues or we discuss issues, affecting our society, not only on one aspect. We discuss on health, agriculture, education, politics, and key important issues.
Okay.
So today, we will not really, jump into the main discussion that is about the draft constitution. We would first, draw our attention back on key issues that are really affecting this nation. And then to start with, Mr. Jobate, the living condition of Gambians currently, many believe that the skyrocketing of basic, items in the market, people question, how fast things are increased daily. So and this really affect, the daily life of Gambians. So from your own perspective, Mr. Jobate, what or how would you read, the living condition of Gambians as of now?
Yeah, I think the living conditions are very terrible, very difficult for the majority of Gambians in all respects, whether it's about, feeding oneself, the ability to get food for the family because of the high prices of food, whether it is about obtaining services such as water and electricity, which are erratic, and expensive. Whether it's about healthcare, which is equally difficult for most people, simply because healthcare is very expensive, and basic services, products are not available in public facilities. So whether it's about movement, transportation, roads are very few. That is the roads that have been paved, and even those that are paved are already run down, worn out, and the new ones that are built are poor quality. But most of the roads are not paved, so that whether one is walking on foot or in a vehicle or any other means of transportation, you face this constant challenge of moving from point A to point B, particularly in this rainy season. So that when you look at all aspects of life in the Gambia, it's difficult. And why is that the case? It's squarely because until now we do not have a government that is competent, that is honest, and that is committed to manage the resources of this country, the affairs of this country, in a manner that would provide opportunities for citizens to be able to, earn a living, and so therefore obtain a certain quality of life for themselves. Um, and the saddest part of it is not only are taxes going up and up, The government is increasing the number of taxes, several taxes that people pay, but also the amount of the taxes that people pay are so high. On top of that, the government itself has taken loans upon loans that have run into billions of dollars, and being unable to manage those taxes and those billions of loans into services, sectors, facilities, opportunities that would see multiply gains for people. And so, if that is the case, that means you take so much loans, you tax so high, but those loans and taxes get plundered, and then people have to come back to pay. And that is the government now has to go to the budget to um, pay those loans. So that if you look at our 2024 budget, like every other budget, you'll see that debt servicing is the largest sector of the budget. Um, so you become highly indebted, and then you become highly poor, and then the little you have, you still have to pay back. I mean, it's such a tragedy. And so, what makes it all this worse, really, is how you could take so much taxes and loans, and then um, they are mismanaged through corruption, through incompetence, through inefficiency. So that you look at something like electricity. What does it take to provide 24/7 electricity in a society where the longest distance is 400 kilometers, the widest distance is 80 kilometers, no mountains, no big rivers crisscrossing everywhere, so that to run a line from Banjul to Koina, what does it take really? But you take something like ferry service between Banjul Bara, 7 kilometers. What does it take to provide 24 hours ferry service? And you sit here, a whole government, you cannot provide 24 hours ferry service in the capital itself. So you go to Bara now, Banjul Bara, only one ferry is running. And before that, only three ferries run down. And people need those ferries to run business, to go to school, to go to hospital, and to run the various activities, affairs, transactions. And how much cost is that? So all of this is impacting on the quality of life, on the high cost of living in the country. And all of it, as I said, is simply because you have a government that is not interested whatsoever in the welfare of the people, uh, that is so corrupt that it mismanages the high taxes and high loans it's taken in the name of the people, and is so incompetent that it cannot deliver simple basic services. So the accumulation of all of this means people will suffer. And the evidence of that is very apparent. I don't walk around and see any Gambian tell you I'm satisfied. The day is good. I mean, anyone you ask, how are you? We are managing it. So it's a terrible situation we are in. So this is the situation.
Interesting. So, I mean, that is clearly, I mean, what is happening. So, Mr. Jawad, you figured out reasons, I mean, leading to this. Now, what do you think could be the remedy to solve this issue as soon as possible, or, I mean, for governments to have better living conditions?
So it's a combination of factors. I mean, in the first place, it is to point to the government of its legal and constitutional and political obligation to govern this country according to the rule of law, to perform and deliver according to the rule of law. We have to highlight that. That, for me, is number one solution. Because what is happening is because you are not acting, performing, delivering according to the rule of law. So government has to go back and perform according to the rule of law. If you read our constitution, for example, um, right to education is in the Constitution, Section 30. It says basic education shall be free, compulsory, and available to all. Is that happening? Is the Ministry of Education really providing that basic education to all Gambians? You go to all public basic schools, basic cycle schools in this country. Are they quality basic service schools? Do they have adequate teachers, adequate school materials? Are the schools themselves, the structures, are they proper for human habitation, for learning and and teaching and learning of those children? So you know, that is to say, let's say the Minister of Education, you have to uphold the Constitution and deliver as the Constitution says. All right. You can give that example for all other sectors, whether it's energy or sports or agriculture or healthcare and so on. So it is they are not just performing according to the Constitution and the laws of the Gambia. But then the rest of it, rest of us are out there, political parties. To remedy this, we need, well, before I talk about the political parties, is the National Assembly. Probably it is the first that needs to make government to do what it's supposed to do, because they have the constitutional powers and obligations to check the executive, that is the government, to do its work. And so if the National Assembly fails to check, to monitor the executive, then we are going to have failures. We are going to have all the problems we are having, because public institutions are failing to do what they are supposed to do. So National Assembly is a solution. It is sad to say, though, the National Assembly is failing this country, just like the government itself is failing this country. The next is the political parties, because there are governments in waiting. They have members in the National Assembly, they have members in the local councils, all right, and so they are part of the decision making, and they are part of the oversight, the monitoring of the executive to do what is supposed to do by law. So we could get solution from the political parties if they do what they're supposed to do. And then we have the media and the civil society to interrogate these issues. The media should not just be there to report an event, but the media sets the agenda. The media, the Constitution has given the media, Section 207, clear role to hold the government accountable on behalf of the people. So the media has to find a way to see how do we hold the government to account, so that how are you reporting about education? Do you know what are the obligations of the state in terms of education or healthcare and so on? And are you following the budget? Are you following the institutions in the way they are performing and delivering, and so on? So the media has a critical role, and the more the media does that, uh, it will bring solutions. I mean, to create the space like this kind of conversation, to make sure we have more Gambians bring their voices to raise issues that are there.
National interest.
Yes, which means the civil society has more or less to do the same, but also to see how do you organize the people, how do you enlighten the people to realize their rights and duties, and be willing, be ready to organize the people to take action, to protest, the injustice, the corruption, the underperformance, the all these things that are happening, to go to court, to petition and so on. So the civil society should be able to do that for the people, whilst the people themselves as individuals have to raise or realize, whether anyone educates them or not, but on their own to realize, as a citizen, what does that mean? So ultimately, each and every Gambian citizen has to ask himself or herself, what is my role? Yes. When I say I'm a citizen, what does that mean? A citizen is someone who has rights and duties and benefits in a society. Are you getting the benefits of being a Gambian, for example? Because taxes, you are paying taxes. Loans are taken in your name, and those are for you. Are you getting the benefits of those taxes and loans and grants? All right, which means also, Are you exercising your rights to make sure those loans and grants and taxes are managed properly? That the public institutions in charge of them are really performing, delivering those services and goods. So that's a matter that is for each and every citizen to ask himself or herself. And, if you do that, you now position yourself to see, to ensure that you perform your citizenship duty. So if you want a solution, it's multiple players. If you all do what we're going to do, we will have the best society.
Certainly.
But if we fail to do what we should do, we will have a society like this. We'll only be lamenting and complaining and
But no
blaming
changes.
and crying, accusing each other and all of that, because at the end of the day, we are just in hardship. So the way I see the Gambia, we are all failing in our roles and responsibilities. And that is why we are in this kind of society.
Interesting. So, I mean, dear viewers, like I said, this is your program titled "Let's Talk About It," and here we will talk about everything possible, and of course, key issues that are affecting the country. So, I mean, that was, I mean, very well, I mean, answering by Mr. Jobarteh regarding the living condition of Gambians. So he made it very clear. He went far to discuss on different issues that are really not going well in the country, and then he said, for the ultimate goal, it is collective responsibility. But of course, some key individuals have a huge role to play to ensure that, I mean, these things are tackled. So, Mr. Jabade, to continue, I mean, you've been a staunch advocate for security sector reform in the Gambia since 2017. So, what do you really have to say regarding this aspect since the coming into, I mean, since the coming of President Barrow's government in early 2017?
Yes, so I am not satisfied with the level and the pace of security sector reform. Um, I think, you know, by now we should have been at a very high level. And the whole idea is we need a security setup which serves the needs of the people and does not um, um, bring hardship, doesn't commit violations, against the people. Um, so a security sector that is professional, security institutions that are professional, that are transparent, accountable. Yes. Unfortunately, we are yet to obtain a level that I would say is satisfactory. Instead, in fact, I see a retrogression taking place. Yes, we see some security, like say police station, new police stations built here and there. We've seen constant promotions in the police and the military. Uh, but at the end of the day, it is about you and me as citizens in our communities, how safe and secure we are.
Yeah,
Yes, it is about how, when we deal with the security institutions, agencies, how professionally they treat us, and um, so you can develop all these tools and buildings and promotions. At the end of the day, the yardstick we will use is how am I being served as a citizen? So that when you look at the police, you will realize they continue to perpetuate dictatorial tendencies like in the past. For example, denying people the right to permit, the right to protest,
okay, certainly.
which is a fundamental constitutional right given to citizens, and the police is mandated by law to protect citizens who wish to exercise their right to show their grievance or disagreement with what is happening in their society, which is good for democracy, for good governance, for the development of this society, like any other society. So protests are very, very necessary and important, and not just in terms of accountability, but also in terms of peace building. Because if I am aggrieved, frustrated, angry about what is happening in the country, if I have the space to go out there the whole day and shout and sing and demonstrate, I get a bit satisfied that I have
At least
pull
contribute.
out what is in my chest. So at least that will calm me down. I
Yeah.
go home and calm down. But if I'm refuse to do that, or in the way I should do it, it means there's constant anger, and that can threaten the peace and security of this country. So
Certainly.
that's why protest is very necessary as a peace building, conflict resolution, conflict prevention mechanism, apart from its governance, accountability purpose. But we have seen the police uh, refuse citizens to protest for no reason. Absolutely no reason. There's no justification to deny citizens to protest in this country since 2017. I have not seen any justification. They've denied citizens to protest multiple times. But even where they give permit, you look at the way and manner they give
Conditions
permit.
are laid down.
Yes, the conditions basically tantamount to denial. Yes, because they will tell you go and protest in the bush, for example. Sitting corner, Bond Road. That is the bush. Who is going to protest in the bush? For what? Or go and protest for 2 hours. How can you tell citizens what authority does IGP have to tell citizens no, you can only protest for 2 hours, 1 hour, 3 hours? Or they tell you go and protest from that end to that 100 meters. So these are all mechanisms, or they tell you anyone who insults you will be responsible for that. Now, these are all conditions intended to deny citizens to protest. And it doesn't help the democracy and the peace and stability of this country, the good governance of this country. So we've seen the police do that. And then they clamp down on protest and beat up people, all right, arrest people um, for for nothing, and then charge them with unlawful assembly. These are all dictatorial tendencies we are seeing the police do. But beyond that, we've seen the police arrest people, even including myself, for merely criticizing the president. Now, that is dictatorial, and that shows the security sector reform is a joke, because these are the malpractices of the past that should not have been in the police. We need a democratic police. So we see those things happen. We see the police mount checkpoints everywhere. For what? You slow traffic. You don't check for anything. I want the IGP to tell me in those checkpoints around this country, which checkpoint have you ever captured drugs or guns or child trafficking at a checkpoint? No. So, but checkpoints, you go to Banjul at a certain point, you see queue from Denton Bridge up to Sting Corner. And you waste people's time and people's business, waste people's resources, and then you get to the Denton Beach checkpoint, only a soldier is telling you just go. What is the point? It tells you checkpoints are useless. So a checkpoint, anyone who knows security knows that a checkpoint is an emergency tool mechanism during conflicts, during disasters, emergencies, so that you are able to manage things. That's what checkpoints are done for. A checkpoint cannot be a permanent structure in a peacetime democratic society. Now, but the culture of checkpoints came to this country thanks to Ajambe as a control mechanism. So one would have thought, as part of the security sector reform, all checkpoints be removed from Denton Bridge up to Basa. And the saddest thing, Mr. Mbaye, is not just police mount checkpoints, but the military mount checkpoints.
Certainly.
What is the job of the military in internal security? There has to be serious emergency. Unless the IG or the CDS or the president tells us Gambia is in conflict, or there's a threat of war. But what is the point of a checkpoint in a military, mounted by the military? Now, and part of that security sector reforms, when we come to the military, let us check all the barracks in this country. They are inside communities. Banyara barracks, Lundum barracks, Kudam barracks, Rafale barracks, Basay barracks. Now, these barracks were built many years ago. Maybe at the time that wasn't the case. But from 2017 to date, security sector reform should have informed us, look, the location of our barracks require relocation. Because a military barracks is not a playground. But You leave these barracks there, and the saddest thing again with the barracks, you even build schools in the barracks where members of the community outside come to this inside the barracks every day.
Even now, it is organizing military parades.
Inside the barracks. I mean, in some other countries, you don't even see barracks. But you go in Kuyundum barracks, you see, you even, not just checkpoint, you build barriers. Now they even build sleeping police.
Certainly.
So anyone who knows military, you know the concept of military. You know the military is not open. All right. Military installations don't allow for loiter, don't allow outsiders to stick around. Okay. So you have a barracks like Yundum barracks or Fajara barracks, you put a sleeping police there. What are you doing? You are giving opportunity for people to slow down
And know what is going on.
and know what is going on and give them opportunity to attack. So a military barracks, you are not a soldier, you are not in that barracks. Military barracks wouldn't allow civilians or other people to come and come around. No, you move quickly, you get out of it. That's a military concept. So I get worried. I mean, I don't know. How could the CDS, how could the Minister of Defense allow this to happen? And if you, in our history, you know, uh, early 1999, late 90s, there was an attack on Farafanya barracks. Some individuals, they come like normal people as if they are visiting somebody in the barracks. And they overpowered the sentry people. So you go to Yundum barracks or you go to Fajara barracks. Today, if you want there, you can just go and walk and enter the barracks and nobody tells you anything.
Certainly.
Yeah, you go and sit somewhere and have attire there and go home. You call that a military barracks? So the security sector reform is a joke. And again, highlighting the lack of vision, the lack of commitment of the security officials, the security chiefs of this country to really give us a proper security system. So instead of the police mounting checkpoints everywhere, denying people's right to protest and so on, what you should be thinking about, how do we equip the police to engage in smart policing? Yes. To combat crimes. Because we are all concerned about crimes. Burglary, murders are taking place, and the police tell us that they are doing a patrol. All right. Yes, they are doing a patrol. It is necessary. But how many patrols do you need to do? How do you enhance that patrol? That is the thing the IGP needs to sit down and think about. Are our police using drones, for example? Do they have police dogs? Do they have community policing? They have a unit for community policing. How equipped are those community policing on bicycles, or using horses? If you say we cannot buy horses, buy bicycles, can we go and buy horses from our local people? They are selling horses here. Government is selling. Buy horses, breed them, train them. You don't fuel a horse. Give water and grass.
Certainly.
So it's cost effective. All right. Of course, that is maintenance. So there are many ways you can do these things. Give police, gadgets to check for speed. Give them motorbikes to be running along our streets. If I drive, and when I drive, every day, all the time, I see traffic violations. I see reckless driving. And imagine if I were a police officer in a police vehicle, just driving in a police bike, in a police motorbike. I would have stopped them, that driver, and said, look, this is what you are doing. Yes. And so the security sector reform is not going anywhere. A lot of money has been spent, a lot of meetings have been held, a lot of promotions have been held, but I don't see qualitatively the difference between our security today and in the past. Yes, today we don't have junglers, for example. We don't have NIA, they are not torturing people, arresting people. So maybe that is the only success so far. Yeah. But then the rest of it, especially the police, the prisons, you go to the prisons, conditions in the prisons. So I'm not satisfied with the security sector reform. And I hope our security chiefs and our security officials at the highest level and across will take time and sit back and ask themselves really what is security sector reform.
Interesting. So, Mr. Jawar, you've also mentioned that we in the Gambia we are seeing the military. I mean, mount checkpoints. If you go to Bureng, they have one there
Yeah.
in Pakal. You know, they mount for in Kudan,
Yeah,
they mount
yeah,
checkpoints there.
yeah.
So, like, I mean, is this not cost? I mean, because of like let's say the lack of understanding of really what I mean they are meant to do, and of course, really what they're expected to do.
You know, what they are doing is very dangerous. It is not only putting unnecessary burden on the military, and I think it is a disrespect to the dignity of the military, because that is not the job of the military to provide internal security, to provide checkpoints on our roads. So we are misusing the military. But what it is doing, which is dangerous, is in the process you are raising resentment against the military, because at those checkpoints, uh, people are forced to stand to wait. And if you are unlucky, there's a long queue, you wait for long. And then you get to the checkpoint only for the soldier to tell you to go. You begin to ask yourself, okay, so what was the point?
Of you
Standing there.
standing.
My time is wasted. I'm running business. Maybe there's a sick person in the vehicle, and so on and so forth. Standing there, running my fuel. I mean, vehicle is wasting my fuel. So what does that do? It makes you begin to despise the military. It makes you dislike them. It makes you say,
They don't know what
words
they are
like
doing.
they don't know their job. These people are useless, and so that frustration is going to take that respect and love for the military. And by all around the world, the best militaries are militaries where citizens love them, respect them. Yes, and all militaries, that is what they pride themselves with, the way people love them, respect them, because the military is noble. Yes, because I mean it's the highest demonstration of citizenship, because here is a person who wants to die
For the state.
for the country, but to defend the territorial integrity, the sovereignty of the country. So that person in that military uniform deserves our highest love and respect. So we shouldn't do anything that will undermine the love and respect we have of our soldiers. So we should not put them in a position, in a situation that is going to cause that. And this is what this government is doing to our military. So I get very sad when I get to these checkpoints. So once a while I would stop at a checkpoint, an officer there, and I tell them, languages. I tell them, "Temalong, fatel le batata bang, fondel le batata bang, fondel bele
What
batata bang."
are they? Won't say that.
Because I mean, I just take in this hot sun, or it is raining, in this darkness. You mind a checkpoint? I have a checkpoint here in Cambridge. I don't know what is their job, honestly. I don't know what is their job. I once, during the Jamia days, one early morning, we were nearly late to leave the house. So we were really rushing. And of course, the queue would be all the way down, many streets down. When I got to the chip, I mean, I was furious because they,
Time
they'll
was
be
wasted.
chatting with the vehicle. I'll see drivers bribe them, give them $100 and so on. We got there. And I tell the officer, I said, look, on work days like this, why don't you let this traffic flow and let us move, because people are going to work, are going to school, people will be late. But those days, of course, it's like, no, I mean, like, who the hell this is for your, I said, no, this is for my security. And the next guy there, what? I mean, so it was getting to be, around there, because I told them, me, I live like 400 meters from this checkpoint inside the neighborhood. I said, when I'm attacked at 2 a.m., you people cannot defend me.
Certainly.
And after that, not after 2017, 2018 or 19, that was a armed robbery at the Jar Oil station
Brigama.
next to the checkpoint, and they couldn't do anything. They didn't save that Jar Oil. Those armed robbers, I've not seen how they've been captured. So what is the point of the checkpoint now? So I said, you cannot defend me. You don't have a vehicle here. You don't have a telephone line here. So how can you defend me? This is not for my defense. And they got furious, and I saw two or three more coming from the, sitting under the mango tree, trying to come. I'm like, oh, you come on, and all of that. So I advised myself, me and my kids, in front of my kids, they were already insulting me. They will beat me up here. I'm going to work. I'll be late. My children will be late. And at that point, at the end of the day, these officers here, the decision is not even with them because these people have just been posted here. So I told my it was even stupid to argue with these people because, so calculating all of this in my mind, I said, okay, and as I was leaving, they were saying like, the F word, get out of and go and stuff like that. And these are officers, young officers, who I know, are not older than my children. Yeah, young officers. They were doing that. I felt sorry for them. I felt angry. I felt very sorry for my country. But it still continues. So really, are we sitting down to look at what we need to do in this country? So I think the security sector reform is a joke. The way they are taking it is a joke. And huge resources have been put there. And you journalists need to go and get that because that's part of your constitutional role.
Okay.
Go and find out how many international organizations, how many regional organizations, how many foreign governments are supporting security sector reform in this country, and how much money has been spent. But you'll be shocked. From the AU to ECOWAS to EU to UN to the French government, German government, Turkish government, British government, all of them and others that probably I don't even know have all been supporting our security sector reform in one way or the other, and since 2017, So even the laws establishing the security institutions, like the Police Act, they are still not changed until today, 2024. The Prisons Act, the NIA Act, the Gambia Armed Forces Act.
It is sad.
It's sad.